Alright, we're going to go over how to draw the Indominus Rex. Let's get started. I'm going to go through it step by step by step, all the way through. So let's go through it. I'm going to start with a pencil here, and we are going to kind of start with the head, where that's going to be. And I think I want the head kind of far up a little bit. Thinking of a bit of a block area at the top. Something like that. I'm just thinking of geometric shapes. And I know I want his mouth open. Right now I'm just thinking of what position I want him in for the most part. I kind of wish I could move it up a little bit more, but we're going to keep it like that. And pulling down. Over here. And you know what? I'm going to move the head actually up a little bit. Actually. I'm going to move the head, and I'm just going to start with a circle along here just to find a general idea of where the head's going to be. And I'm going to pull it down. Over here. Okay, something like the tail maybe down around this. I'm trying to fit him in the page. That's very, very important to me. Finding his shoulder, putting a circle for the shoulder. Hand back along here. And I'm finding the big side of the leg over here. He's going to be kind of like sitting up a little bit. And maybe downward, like finding his leg down. And he's going to have a raised heel, which is something that's really kind of important here. Back over here, down. Down over here, right here. So I'm going to try to break up the head the exact same way. I'm trying to get to the point where I can just get into the the pen real fast. So hopefully you can see this, but I want to get into the pen very, very quickly after this, so that we can just kind of get it started. So you can kind of see everything in much greater detail. Have his hand over here. Yeah, something like that. We're just going to use this as our framework. Find our eye over here. And kind of cracking open the mouth. I'm almost ready to go in with the pen. And let's see, just a little bit more. And then we're going to really, again, I'm just finding the thickness of certain things. So like the neck, I really want to get the swoop of the body right there. That's incredibly important. Okay? Because without that, it's going to be very, very hard. Okay, and I think we have enough. See, you can kind of see where his neck is right here, and it goes down. And we have his back along this area. I need his back to be a little bigger. Like there we go. Okay. And then a line right here for the kind of skin. I think we have enough right here to actually get started on the inking. Okay, I'm gonna start going in here, and we're gonna get started right now. And let's start on this section. Right, we're pretty much already started. That's not the entire point. So, all right, so here we go. Gonna go in right here to the eye first. Okay, I'm gonna turn on another light over here to kind of make it even brighter. All right. He has kind of like a dot here. And we're just kind of leaning in. Gonna find the front of the snout. Just because something he has is he has these almost like demonic devil horn things going on the side over here. Mm-hmm. He's got really beady eyes, so his eyes could be very small over there in that side. There we go. And his spikes on his back, these little quills he has, they're such a giant part of his character, but I'm not going to add every quill right off the bat. There we go. Bag under the eye. We're just kind of like taking the, let me see, nostril right here. What I'm trying to do is get very delicate with stuff. Stay delicate before I get into the large, dark shapes. 'Cause at some point we're going to go in. And I'm putting the teeth over here. He's got like anglerfish teeth. Meaning they're kind of different sizes. They're kind of more like, they're scarier looking, more like chop things up sort of kind of thing. Tear things up. There you go. Kind of finding the bottom there because he does have that open mouth. I'm not thinking too much about the tongue right now. He does have that tongue, but I'm not gonna. I'll put it out over here, but it's not gonna be like a venom tongue or anything like that. Something you gotta be aware of. There's a bit of a scooping motion on the lower jaw there. It's got a very unique shape to that lower jaw. There you go. Just kind of, again, remember this stuff is fun. We're going in here to the jaw a little bit more, pulling back. You can see a lot of where the jaw connects. This was actually the first. This is actually the first of the. I believe it's the first fake dinosaur, right? That they created for the movies, like wholesale. It wasn't like Dilophosaurus, or they kind of just changed it up a lot, or the raptor, which is really the Deinonychus. I mean, this is like the first entirely made up, right? Like dinosaur in the movies. Which, to be honest, I was kind of against. I was kind of against them wholesale making dinosaurs up, but you know, I've learned to like his design, and you know, here we are, right? Here we are years later. This is a um, popular dinosaur. Kind of the bend in his arm right there with its skin folding up. A lot of this stuff with organics, you have to be very, very attentive to the skin folding. That's such a giant feature to their arms. I remember for Guillermo del Toro, he talked about it with his movie Pacific Rim, where see I'm following the scaffolding right here, following that. I put in like where the arm would be. He talked about it with his kaiju's in Pacific Rim, where people would have this kind of he wanted this kind of like sagging. I think he called it like old person sagging. I can't remember what he called it underneath the armpit area, and it just makes things look more real. I don't know how to say it, more convincing. I'm gonna leave this a little bit open, and then right now I'll put the little spines on there, which we'll go over in a minute. But right now I'm going into the hand, right there. He's got like three claws and a thumb. Right here. There. There you go. Finding just the outline of the hand for now. Just kind of, there you go. I think just kind of finding it is a good idea, finding the edge of this stuff. Right on. Okay. I'm gonna go into the little spines on his. He has these porcupine quills on his arm as well. So it's important to put them in. What's going on with his porcupine quills? It's possible I could have just drawn over it, right, and just added them to the end. But I drew some because I just kind of felt it was important to put those in. Right now, more or less just finding the line right now, finding the line. That's so important right now. So it's back as well. Oopsie. Spines get a bit bigger around the back. There you go. Kind of going back over here. It turned to more visible osteoderms, right? More bigger ones basically, and it tends to start to change shape as it goes down. But right now we're gonna go over here, and I'm gonna find the leg on this side, because that's what's happening. A little dark there, right there, a little dark shape. Kind of early for that, but it makes it look like it's coming in there deep. But yeah, I don't know. I just saw the moment there. I'm trying to find from one line over here to here. It's really important I do that. I think I'm gonna shorten up his leg. I think his leg is too long. Yeah, I think I'm gonna shorten up his leg big time actually. Let me see where I'm gonna put that. Yeah, I think about here. It's gonna be a big shortening. There you go. It's also gonna make his other features look, I think, better, bigger and better. Right on. There we go. Pulling down, kind of from the heel, right? So the heel, obviously, the heel is, the heel, very similar like to, lizards, and I think I would say the when I'm looking at the feet of like the T Rex and stuff, I would say the closest thing would be like looking at ostriches or your emus or um, I was gonna say capybaras. What is that thing called? It's like an emu, but like a dangerous bird. It escapes me right now, but I usually know the name of that. Going over here with a nail on the foot, going around the edge over here, pulling down, up, um, going out, pulling in, curve down, curve, curve. Going to the other end over here as well. Right on. All right, we got his leg over there. He's got a good foothold. I think. I think that stands up quite a bit. I think it's cassowary, right? I forget. I cannot remember the name of that. But those birds over here on this side now. Let me see. I'm gonna figure out his tail because his tail's definitely folding into his body a bit right here. I need to widen it out just a bit, but I also don't want it to go totally off the page. I mean, it can go off the page down here, but not way over there. Hopefully that makes some sort of sense. So maybe I can pull it back along this area. Right on. All right. Looking pretty good, I think. I really wish I might just make the calf a little bit bigger. I'm saying little differences and stuff. And I was gonna originally put the leg behind there, but I think I'm gonna make the leg come out front there. I think like he doesn't have to be walking forward per se. He can be his leg can come over here. We'll see about that. But I think the back could be even bigger, honestly. I think the back needs to be a little larger. There you go. Looking pretty good so far, I think. And there. Alright, let's kind of go over here now. I try to get rid of some of the actual pencil lines. They're a little hard to get rid of, but we're going to go over here into the other arm. And the other arm is literally, we're just going to make it a silhouette. That's literally all we're going to do is make it a silhouette. Right. It's over here. Kind of finding that thumb. Right. That opposing thumb over here on this side. And pulling up. He's got the Everybody calls it the Bela Lugosi hands. Bela Lugosi meaning from Dracula, the original Dracula. Um, the old school Dracula. Blah. And we're going to mostly fill that in, but I'm going to wait right now. Maybe the wrist should be a little bit bigger. And then over here, it's going to be a shadow with his leg. He's stepping back here. So along this side, the bottom. There we go. So that's going to be entirely a dark shape as well. We can kind of get into that before we get into the detail. So I'm going to grab a different brush pen. And this is going to allow me to fill in areas a little bit quicker, right? A little bit quicker. So that I don't have to struggle. And, if you're using a little, how do you say, like a very small pen, it's not really going to work. There we go. Excellent. Just kind of going over here, filling it in, blotching it in as much as I can. Let me turn the other light on. Forgive me, I turned off this light. So you can kind of see better. There we go. Just getting as much of it in there as I can. All right. So I put that over here. I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. I want the back over here, the backhand in relative shadow because I think it's going to pay off. Because what you really want, well, what we're doing here is we really want focus, right? This kind of technique, the way I'm drawing, like look at the demos on all the recent videos on this channel. And when we go through the drawings, we're doing that inking style, that comic book kind of style where the dark recedes back into space or creates focus. Right? We're using a lot of dark for areas that we don't want our audience to look at. There we go. Alrighty, there we go. Sweet. So we got that. And now, thinking of, okay, his back leg is here, his front leg is there. You can probably place a little bit of ground shadow. That's kind of toward the end, but we can do a little bit of a ground shadow over here. It's a little bit of one. Yeah. So, what are some other spots they're going to have this? In the mouth. That's big. Right here at the pit of the back of his mouth over here, kind of around the tongue. And we're putting in these dark shapes, and then we're going to go into it after. Right now we're putting in these dark shapes, and then we're going to sharpen these shapes afterward. There we go. There we go. Under the neck, that's incredibly big. Almost always the light source is coming down. When the light source is coming down, almost always is a cast shadow from the jaw down onto the neck. That's pretty common. around the eyes a little bit, because the eyes, we want to create that focus right there. Usually a little bit of the ridge with dinosaurs off that area around the eye. There you go. Right on. Cool. So again, we're just adding this. I haven't actually put in a lot of the sharp edges I want, but it's something. Maybe a little bit of dark over here, kind of again around the lat, like I was talking about. We're gonna go into the top here in a minute, but finding all the very large areas of dark, like any large obvious areas first. Over here now, along the tail, the bottom here, because the light source comes from above. There we go. All right. Can always add a little bit around here, even though we're about to go into it with way more detail in a minute, because his osteoderms are really showing. I think he needs more dark still around the leg. There you go. Filling in the nails right here. Um, Alright, around here. Maybe throwing another right here curve for the musculature a little bit over here along the leg. See, let's look a little bit of a half tone right there. I go over here to the nails at the bottom right here. Nails are totally black, so I want to black in these while leaving a highlight. There you go. Here on this area. Again, not putting major shadows over here, but just enough right here. Same thing over here. All right, let's go into, we can kind of go, I think I can go back into this and throw some more dark shadows, but I guess it's going to be a lot of light, I think, in this one. Let's see, a lot of light. The other ones are almost entirely in shadow, like at the bottom. I probably will throw in more shadow right here at the bottom, because I do not want this tail to be looked at very much. And see how it looks like halftone over here with this brush pen? Almost looks like pencil in a way. Yeah, there you go. And then you can do the same over here for the foot. Just a bit. Have the foot there, a lot of it in shadow. So thinking about it like an egg. So when you look at an egg and the light sources come from above, you see like the highest, like most light is above, and then as it goes down, there's less and less and less and less. Right? It gets darker and darker as it goes down. That's kind of what we're trying to create the illusion of, in a way. Alright, let's go in with the back right here with this. Alright, let's kind of hop in right over here. And we're going to go into the spines right here. So throw in a quills. Another one right there. You want to vary up the sizes and distances from each other. There we go. Right there. There we go. Putting in a couple of folds from the lip right here. Almost looks like a gum line, right? He doesn't really have lips. There was a very big debate of whether dinosaurs had lips or not. In Jurassic Park, they tend to put lips on them, I think. If you look at a design, I think he doesn't really have any. I don't think. I'm not sure. He might have a little bit. The Indominus Rex. I know that if you look at, I would say a design that has no lips at all, I don't think was, if you look at those dinosaurs from the King Kong movie, you know, where there's two T-Rex looking thing, they're calling them V-Rexes. If you look at those guys have hardly any lips at all. That's a great example. Let's go over here. And then he has these little osteoderms all over him. We don't have to draw all of them, but we're just throwing a couple of marks right here to show that off. Right? He's got that pattern. You can just throw some dashes. You can complete a couple of them here and there. Nice. There you go. Going over here, throwing a little bit of shadow at the bottom here. Kind of looking at his arm. Trying not to make it look a little bit too humanoid because it's easy to do that. I mean, they are very humanoid in a way, but they're not, obviously not entirely humanoid, so you have to be careful. I know a big issue is people tend to want to draw human anatomy into everything. If you ever look at, there's a book that shows, I mean, the anatomy is very similar, don't get me wrong, but like if there's a book that has Renaissance paintings with dogs with very human-like faces, and it looks really creepy. Because they didn't really learn the differences between animal anatomy as much. So they just substituted what they know with like human anatomy. It looks really weird, human facial anatomy. And as they're incredibly similar, but there are key differences. So just kind of that's something to pay attention to. Let's see here. Line, line, line. On. Going over here. This is a little bit too bare, I think, right in this area. I'm going to put some more. There's a lack of information. So a lot of this too is you're filling in information on what's happening here. So just lack of info. So you want to put in more info so that it makes more sense and it's a complete image. Otherwise, it just doesn't look. I don't know. It just looks. It always feels like something's missing. Right? Even little marks like this, we're gonna put for shadow. Like again, not just shadow showing off musculature, not just. So it could be little marks here, good little. Right? Line over here. It doesn't have to be every single line, every single mark. It doesn't have to be outlined. And over here as well. There you go. Mm-hmm. Right on. And you gotta step back every now and then, kind of like, okay, what can I do now? You don't want to overcomplicate the face. If you overcomplicate it, it becomes too busy. Let's put a little bit of dark around the eye to bring a little bit more focus to that area. But you don't want it to get too busy. If it gets too busy, it gets too crowded. You don't want it to get too crowded. Let's see. And you don't want to go too deep into detail around here. It's absolutely fine, but you don't want to go too, like, let's put in some more spines right around here. If you go too deep on the spikes over here, it's going to attract too much. It's fine to go into detail, of course, on a lot of this stuff, especially with the areas of hitting light with halftone. There we go. Hopefully this frames it enough right here, these sharp shapes. Also, this sharp shape versus a soft edge. Sorry, I forget. Yeah. So the edge of that is very hard, but over here they're going to be a little bit softer, like over here, especially down here. And that soft shape is going to the soft shape's going to help a lot. There we go. It's going to help with focus, like what we're focusing in and what we're not focusing in. Right? Down here, you don't want it to look, you don't want the audience, the viewer to look down here as much. You want it more up here. I could have completely darkened this out even further. I think it'd be too much though. And there you go. Line around this area. Not too much more, just kind of pushing inward over here. We're throwing in little marks. What do these marks do? Right? Let's put in a little more quills. What do these marks do exactly? They convey information to the viewer. Because without it, there wouldn't be anything. There'd be nothing there showing the form. You want to show off the form of what you're working on. That's what's important. You want to show off the form. If not, it's not going to work. You want it to work. There we go. A few of these little spines right there really help out. You can fill in some of them completely dark. Some are not. Some will catch light. Some won't. And it's going to help our character even more as we're moving forward. If you're here, I want you to recommend, or sorry, I want you to make suggestions of future drawing videos. I was thinking of different dinosaurs fighting each other, or different characters you never thought would fight each other fighting each other. Just let me know, and I will totally. I will make it happen. It's just a matter of time. We gotta come up with these scenarios. Maybe some more dark over here. All right. At this point, it's just fiddling around with certain shapes. Kind of toying with stuff. There you go. All right, right there. Right on. Kind of going over here, giving some of these spikes a little bit more volume. Something else, there will be like a little bit of folding on the edges over here, a little bit. There we go. Throw a few more spikes in back as well. Osteoderms. Looking pretty good, I think. I think that might actually be it. I can keep working on this, but this is probably sufficient enough. I could probably put a little bit more shadow on the floor right here with this particular brush. A little bit more. Might not even be that visible through the camera. I'm trying to make it a little bit more obvious. It's a little bit more soft shadow, meaning the edges are soft. Right there. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think that would about do it, I believe. Let's throw a little bit more dark in the leg itself. Just more like a deeper dark over here. Just a little bit of a deeper dark. I want this to be a little bit more, I would say, established than the other parts. And then I would like to make this a little bit more dark because I want it to be obvious it's dark and he's not just wearing socks or something, you know. There's a little bit of a line of shadow going down over here. Just to make it obvious. There you go. There we go. There we go. Just a little bit of soft there. I want to create. I think there's enough focus over here for that to work. Yeah, I think that's fine. All right. Let me go over here. A few more lines. Some around here. There we go. And we can actually darken out his tail a little more over here. Just a bit more. Hopefully I'm not moving that too much. There we go. If you're around for the whole thing, you're awesome. Do me a favor and suggest some stuff in the comments. And there we go. See, right here, we can. The shadow is like cutting across, right there, like the lower part. I could do that with his hand too. I don't really want to do that. I want to see his hand. I'm debating on it, but no, I do want to see. I could maybe do the bottom of his hand here, but I would like to see his hand. There you go. I want to see this, the top of his hand. A lot of this is decision making, so a lot of last minute decision making as well. Excellent. Thanks so much. Share the video if you can, and I'll talk to you soon.